Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is my channel. And yesterday, something interesting happened. Sargon of Akkad went on the kill stream and discussed the concept, the I guess you could say the desire to bring GamerGate back, right? And it was kind of met with a bit of mockery. It was met with a bit of laughter. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of did the same as well. I sat there watching a clip of it later on, rolled my eyes a little bit, and just kind of thought to myself, what exactly did Steve Bannon say to Sargon during the interview to get him to want to kind of bring it back, right? And then, of course, later on, he did a stream where he clarified his thoughts on it and his desire to have Donald Trump tweet about Gamergate, to validate Gamergate, as well as to kind of really trigger the libs, trigger the snowflakes, and I think ultimately validate its existence, validate the last 4 years, and show that Gamergate really is not the monster, the boogeyman, the horrible entity that those on the left want it to be. Constantly keep saying that it is. Doesn't matter. 4 years it's been this terrible, horrible, nasty thing. And in his stream, he had made a comment about me going on, like his desire is for me to go on Tucker Carlson to, well, to explain Gamergate to the normies, I'm guessing, to Tucker's audience, right? To get the Tucker look of, and he says the reason why is because where I was in regards to the starting of Gamergate. In his mind, I'm the catalyst for a lot of it. And that is something I've never fully agreed with. I've always looked at it as one part of a larger series of dominoes. Not the first one. It was stuff that was brewing. It just happened to be kind of right place, right time sort of thing. And I laughed when I first heard about it. I did. I went back and listened to the clip a couple times, just like, what the hell is he thinking? People, of course, were saying to him, why Matt? Matt doesn't deserve it. Matt messed up. And he acknowledges that. And I'm part of me thinks this is something that he suggested as a way to kind of like redeem myself, like a redemption arc. And I laughed about that for a second too. But then I started thinking more about it. I started kind of going back over the last couple years. I started going over what started Gamergate, where things went, what we saw, what we experienced, and ultimately where things are now. And I'm not going to lie, as much as I don't want Gamergate 2.0 to happen, because I don't, I want Gamergate 1.0 to be vindicated in the eyes of the media. I don't want it to be vindicated specifically for right-leaning media. I don't know if the left is ever going to do it. I don't know if the SJW media, if that is ever going to acknowledge where things are, acknowledge that that they had their own part to play in this, and that ultimately Gamergate was about ethics and games journalism. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. The likelihood of it happening is probably not. Even today, a former a writer for Star Wars and for Marvel was fired over anti-Trump tweets, and he specifically named Comicsgate, as well as, you know, hinted at Gamergate. And the article that I covered mentioned Gamergate. And of course, a lot of people online are mentioning Gamergate as being this boogeyman, this terrible entity that won this bit of the culture war. I hate to break it to all those people, but the vast majority of people in Gamergate were lefties. They were lefties. What we've seen is a large amount of right-leaning people coming over, and that's fine. I have nothing against that. But in the beginning, in the early days, with Not Your Shield and all those elements of it, it was predominantly filled with liberal individuals, left-leaning individuals. And those people still believe in the same core tenets of ethics and games journalism. I don't know what Sargon's ultimate plan is, whatever he might be planning in the back of his mind, but the suggestion of me going on Tucker Carlson to explain it, to talk about Zoe Quinn, to talk about the false copyright strike, to talk about the fact that in her book, she doesn't name me by name. She only references my avatar, but she essentially says that Gamergate is what got Donald Trump elected, And also, I'm the reason GamerGate started. So in her mind, in this book, she insinuates in no uncertain terms that I'm the reason Donald Trump got elected. A left-leaning Bernie Sanders supporting idiot from the West Coast is the reason ultimately why Donald J. Trump became the 45th president of the United States. That is laughable. But that's a narrative, one that could be and should be laughed at on Tucker Carlson. Now, I don't know if this will happen. I don't know if this will be a thing. I found it to be intriguing, and I've put my full support behind it. Sargon and I talked today. I put my support behind that aspect of it. I'll tell you what, I will be fair, though, in my criticism here. I don't fully trust anything Steve Bannon says, but I won't deny that the guy is very smart and that the guy does understand media and media manipulation, as well as how to work a crowd of people. He is a very intelligent person, and listening to him talk very, very, very much exemplifies that. And the way that he has been treated by a lot of people in the left-leaning media has been to distort how he says things in order to frame a narrative. So there's that. He's a smart man. But he also is the guy who sent Milo into GamerGate. He's also the guy who wanted Milo to co-opt it, to become its own personal army to help Donald Trump. That is true. That I don't like, because it took away from the core aspect of fighting for ethics in video game journalism. And what it brought with it were muckrakers and carpetbaggers, and people who suited or tried in some cases to pervert the narrative, to mess up the discourse and to profit. And I never liked that. Not one damn bit. And I don't want to see that come back in any way, shape, or form. But the core tenets of what GamerGate was, the core tenets of what it was about 4 years ago, is something I still very much hold true in my heart. I want to see people like Stephen Totilo of Kotaku acknowledge that his staff did wrong, not through hand waving, which is what he did essentially in the beginning, but through actually acknowledging that Patricia Hernandez did wrong. Now, they did acknowledge that she did not disclose when she was covering games that were created by her friend, also her live-in girlfriend at the time. Those were uncovered by people in GamerGate. Deepfreeze.it exists to expose corruption in games journalism, unethical people in games journalism. Deepfreeze.it should be the bane of those people's existence, because it always pays attention, and those actions are still taking place, and it's still being run to this day. And that is a valuable asset. Something like that should be getting a lot more airtime. People should know about that. And that is what I think Sargon is attempting to do. I think Sargon is wanting to take the fight to the media. We had a little bit of it 4 years ago. We had Breitbart, but Breitbart was small. Now things have moved. Things have shifted. Now Bannon is in play. Again, I am not sure how I feel about that, but now Bannon is in play in some respects, and he has connections. There's a specific reason why Sargon had mentioned Tucker Carlson and why Sargon mentioned me and Tucker Carlson. There's a specific reason for that. I don't quite know what it is yet, but I know Carl well enough to know that he doesn't say things like that without there being some kind of idea in his head. So I'm game. I'm game. I understand that my desire for ethics in games journalism and other people's desire to fight the culture war overlap. GamerGate ultimately results in a Venn diagram situation. I get that. And that's fine. I don't agree with it, but it's fine. What I want to see, if we go back into this fight, if we take it to the media to try to change the narrative, because I am tired. I am tired of being listed as being white supremacist, racist, bigoted boogeymen, because I want there to be ethics in video game journalism. And to give you guys an idea, back in April, when there was the YouTube shooting, and I was, on Twitter, there was the accusation that I was a shooter. I ended up getting talked about quite a bit. And one of the articles that covered me was Polygon, written by Julia Alexander. And in this article, she mentions that I'm a YouTube commentator, but she says my name, Matt Jarbo, but doesn't say Mundane Matt, and never said GamerGate. because she was writing about me from a sympathetic perspective, writing about me as a person who was a victim of a false accusation of being a YouTube shooter. But she didn't want to mention Gamergate because it would destroy the narrative in the article. I get it. I don't agree with it. I think it would have been really funny for the salt to flow if she would have mentioned that and coming, but she knew exactly what she was doing. By not mentioning it, by omitting that particular factoid of information, it saves her narrative. We are in a media war in regards to Gamergate, but we have a lot more on our side now than we did before. There was the 2-year investigation into the FBI that proves Gamergate didn't do anything, that proves it was third-party trolls. We have outbursts from Anita Sarkeesian aimed at me when I offered to Ryan Johnson to discuss and explain Gamergate concisely and succinctly, and she lost her mind over it. She did that as a power move because he follows feminist frequency. She wanted to make sure to sever whatever potential tie there could possibly be. It is time to take this back to the media. It's not time to attack. We can attack. That's the whole point. We can attack here. This is now a game about trying to win over people in the court of public opinion. Explaining to them how a bunch of ragtag internet individuals who love games came together to take on the establishment media in tech and did it from the perspective of wanting ethics in video game journalism and being smeared for years. All the way to the point of where the Society of Professional Journalists investigated it, said, you know what, hey, Gamergate's got a point here. Held an event in Miami in August of 2015 called Airplay, and did it as a way to showcase ethics and invited people from the other side, invited some of those reporters who refused to come. And as a result of that, even too, created a whole new award, an award for excellence in video game journalism. And it's one that Jason Schreier has won 3 times. He's won it 3 times. And earlier this year when he won it, he was attacked by his echo chamber for winning it. And he was like, well, I don't want to take an award that GamerGaters are responsible for. It's like, dude, the Society of Professional Journalists is not a mom and pop organization of like, oh, gee, howdy. You know, you did a good job there, eh? You're going to give you this award. It's the Society of Professional Journalists. They wrote the handbook on this stuff. They wrote the handbook for ethical practices. And they created a whole new award because gamers were fighting for ethics in journalism, and they recognized that. They recognized that the largest entertainment medium in the world, worth over $100 billion a year, has a lot of problems in regards to how its journalism is handled. A lot of nepotism, a lot of cronyism, a lot of non-disclosures. And so they wanted to create an award to recognize those who do good. And the one guy they've given it to 3 years in a row hates the fact that he won it. Publicly hates the fact. I guarantee you secretly, he's got all those things at his home right now, right? Not when his friends come over, they get put away, right? They get hidden, but they're there. There's a reason why it keeps getting brought up. And it's because people want to use it as a boogeyman. We're headed back into this fight one way or another. I would rather it be done above board, forward facing, and offensive. Have an offense, not offensive in that regard, having an offense, having a plan of attack. Because this is ultimately about the court of public opinion. And I hope we one day get to that point where we can acknowledge that Gamergate is not about attacking women, insulting minorities, getting people fired, that it's about ethics and journalism, not just gaming journalism, but all journalism, and that you are entitled to your political opinion, but you're not supposed to approach everything you do from an attack perspective and belittle and bemoan and defame those who you disagree with. Journalism should be better. Gamergate was a call for that had a lot of success. And maybe it's time we start that again. I don't know. I want us to win. I do. I really, Really do. So if Tucker Carlson comes a knocking, I'll do it. Right? Because if I go on Tucker and talk about it, it's going to open up the door to a lot of people. You're going to hear about it for the first time, look up what it was. You're going to see a lot of social justice warriors, a lot of those very, very, very liberal individuals blow their top. Articles abound will come out. Articles abound will start making their way. And then Sargon's plan is ultimately to get Donald Trump to say GamerGate did nothing wrong. To own the libs. I won't lie. I'm no fan of Trump. But that would be pretty goddamn funny. That would be pretty funny. But I don't want there to be a war. I want there to be a discussion. I want there to be left-leaning news organizations that realize that this is not what many people claim that it is. And I think a solid, well-thought-out, concise approach to it can help a lot more than it can hurt. Anyway. Oh boy. I guess Zoe Quinn was right. August never ends. The fire rises.